Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 290 for April 4th, 2023. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, there are no more undefeated or winless teams in the XFL, all thanks to one game played last weekend. And Bills safety Damar Hamlin visits the White House. In this week's history lesson, we tell the history of the number 0 in the NFL. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
How funny is it that we're going to be talking about that number 0, and then there are no longer zeros in the XFL thanks to the win we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Everything is coming up zeros this week.
Yeah, it's weird how that all worked out.
Yeah. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show as well as other selected videos. We're also on Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. So let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen listening out there in the world of football land. It was week 7 of the XFL, and what a weekend of football they had.
Yeah.
A lot of great highlights, a lot of great stuff happening here this weekend. Started Friday night as the Seattle Sea Dragons got a big win over the Arlington Renegades, 24-15. It's their 5th straight win for those Sea Dragons. Seattle quarterback Ben DiNucci completed 21 passes for 266 yards and a touchdown, while Arlington quarterback Drew Plitt completed 19 passes for 213 yards and an interception in the loss. Plitt, I believe, is he replacing somebody else? They had Kyle Slaughter, I think.
Yes.
As their quarterback.
Was he injured?
He might be injured.
Yeah, I think Slaughter was
Yeah,
injured.
a lot of quarterback moving this week.
Some new names this week on the quarterback rundowns.
But I mean, Ben DiNucci might be the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some people giving him a run for his money, but I think he was the statistical passing leader last I checked. I could be wrong on that. Feel free to correct me, everybody, as tends to happen on this show. I get corrected, which we'll talk about some more later. All right, then Saturday, the Vegas Vipers got their second win of the season by defeating the San Antonio Brahmas 26-12. San Antonio's Fred Brown returned a kickoff 96 yards for a touchdown. That is the first one in the XFL this season. But the rest...
That was an awesome play.
Yeah, but the rest of the highlights go to Vegas.
Well, yeah, but I've been waiting all season long to see a kickoff return for touchdown.
We've had a couple come close.
Yeah, and so many of them, they barely get to the 30-yard line, and that's it.
Right.
So
the few we've had, there was the one with the Battlehawks a couple weeks ago that they got down to the 10-yard line, and they were just short.
Yeah.
So it is nice to see one finally go all the way.
Sure.
All right. Vegas quarterback Jalen McClendon completed 21 passes for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's another new name in the quarterback circle. San Antonio quarterback Kurt Benkert completed 22 passes for 179 yards and a touchdown. So Vegas getting their second win. Pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned either of those two quarterbacks this season.
I think those are first-time mentions.
It was Vegas, they got rid of...
they traded Luis Perez last week to the Arlington Renegades, so he was on the sideline for that Renegade game. Did not play, so we'll probably see him next week in a Renegades uniform. All right, and then on Sunday, the Orlando Guardians, that's right, the 0-6 Orlando Guardians defeated the 6-0 DC Defenders 37-36. It's the first loss for DC. It's the first win for Orlando. As we talked about earlier, no more zeros.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of this game. I was busy doing something else, and I turned on the TV, and I saw that score with a couple minutes left. It might have been 5 minutes left in the game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're they're leading this
Yeah,
game.
you texted me because I was in Grand Rapids, so
That's
I was
right.
on a little trip on Saturday, and
Yep.
you texted me that, and
I couldn't believe it,
I couldn't believe that either.
so I watched the rest of the game to see if they were going to hold on to that 1 point lead, and they did.
But that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you play the game, because the winless team can go out there and beat the undefeated team.
It happened. It happened this past weekend. Yeah.
Yep, and so congratulations to the Orlando Guardians for getting that monkey off their back. I'm sure DC Defenders, you don't want to get that loss, but maybe it's also good to just, all right, we're not the perfect team, but we
Yeah.
can at least go forward and not have to worry about remaining undefeated. So
Yeah, I wanted the Guardians to win at least one game this
oh
year.
yeah,
I mean, nobody
I
wants
figured
to
they
see
would.
go undefeated. So I was, and they were playing well this season.
Yeah.
They just could not finish a game and
Yeah.
with a lead. But this time they hung on to win.
Yeah, I believe we did our XFL mid-season thoughts about a week ago, and I said in my prediction I figured they'd get a win. I think it was going to be against these guys. No, I did not, but they got that win.
Yep.
So, so I might kind of look like a genius if that's the only win they get. All right, so continuing on with that game, Guardians quarterback Quentin Dormady, I believe that's we've talked about him before.
Yep.
He completed 27 passes for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
For the Defenders, it was quarterback Jordan Tamau. You might have heard of him. He completed 21 passes for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns, while running back Abram Smith ran the ball 18 times for 127 yards and a touchdown, while wide receiver Chris Blair caught 5 passes for 139 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Some of these throws and highlights, and these great highlights. If you get a chance, it's like a 16-minute package on YouTube. Watch this game's highlight. It is awesome. There's so many great catches. They had to review a couple of the touchdowns because like a guy just barely got 1 foot down in the end zone. Like it's a blink and you'd think like, oh, there's no way he got in. And like right on the back of the end zone, he gets it. It's some great highlights here.
Well, you talk about all the stats from DC.
Yeah.
It sounds like they were going to win that game because
if you would just look at the stats, you'd say, well, they won. I mean, look at that. But
have a running back and a wide receiver both go over 100 yards and score a touchdown each. That's pretty much.
And a quarterback throw 3 touchdowns. I mean, yeah. And then at the end of the game, DC kicker Mark McCrane, he missed a 63-yard field goal as time expired. It was like just to the right of the goal.
Yeah, it was just short and a little bit to the right.
Yeah.
And at first I thought it went in, but it was just short. And I watched that live, and oh man, how exciting was that! I didn't think they were going to go for a field goal that far away. I thought they'd do a Hail Mary or something, and all of a sudden they were lining up for a field goal. So
well, they didn't have any timeouts there at the end. They were trying to march down. They got a couple plays, chunk plays, and where it really helps them is that college rule of the clock stopping when you get a first down. Right. That's a big advantage, in this game doing that. And the 1 foot down also has come in handy a couple times. Yep. So some exciting stuff. I mean, we talked on the show before. Look, the football quality has definitely increased week to week. We usually don't talk about the attendance or we don't talk about the TV ratings, which, hey, they are what they are.
Yep.
But I think quality is getting better and better. And I think maybe after this year, maybe next year things will get a little better because it'll be an established brand finally. It's still that unknown commodity right now. Sure, there's been previous iterations of the XFL, but this is a brand new thing. And I think, once this season's completed and this quality of football continues to improve, I think next year will be a better jumping off point. In terms of ratings and whatnot, I hope, they could probably get their foot in the door, get better time slots for some of these games and hopefully avoid like your March Madness. I think that didn't help the last few weeks.
Yeah. Do you think they might, the XFL might try to expand next year, get a couple extra teams?
Oh boy,
I don't think so. I think they should stick with the same 8 and
I could see them maybe
build on what they got.
A couple of teams. I thought, and it wouldn't surprise me if they move a couple teams to some different location. If anything, at the least, it'll be 8 teams with some location moving. Like the Vegas, like you get to some of the attendance. Vegas isn't the best attended team right now.
Sure.
It's 6,000 or 7,000 a game. That ain't going to cut it.
Yeah.
So I could see them maybe even hypothetically moving to like what the USFL did and have like a hub location almost for a couple teams. Maybe you do like 4 hub cities like what the USFL is about to do. We'll see how that works for them this upcoming year. I'm very curious to see because I think the USFL did it right, and we're going off on a little bit of a tangent right now, but I think the USFL did it right. Now, one year you did the 1 hub city for all the teams, and now this year you've expanded to 4 hub cities for 8 teams. So maybe the XFL will have to look into something like that because, like, the Vegas location, the Orlando location, it just doesn't seem like they're getting the numbers you would want. But like a St. Louis, where you're getting 35,000 people
Yeah.
on average for their 2 home games they've had so far,
Right. Yeah.
is incredible. So I mean, St. Louis is there to stay.
Sure.
So-
Yeah. They're not going anywhere.
And speaking of those St. Louis Battlehawks, as I inadvertently walk into this transition.
Gave yourself your own transition.
Oh, man, I'm so good. The St. Louis Battlehawks defeated the Houston Roughnecks 24-15. I think that makes 3 straight losses now for the
For Houston?
Roughnecks.
I'm not sure.
24-15 was that final score. St. Louis quarterback AJ McCarron completed 26 passes for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. St. Louis kicker Donnie Hageman made a 59-yard field goal during the game, so kudos to him. That's a heck of a kick. That is the longest kick in XFL history. Houston quarterback Cole McDonald completed 15 passes for 106 yards and a touchdown during the game. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that is 3 straight losses for the Roughnecks as we look at the XFL standings, because we'll start in the South this week as the Houston Roughnecks now sit at 4-3. Pretty sure they were 4-0.
You could be right.
And right behind them is the Arlington Renegades at 3-4, the San Antonio Brahmas at 2-5, and the Orlando Guardians at 1-6. And I'm pretty sure I predicted the Roughnecks would only lose 2 games, so I already got that wrong.
Come on, you patted yourself on the back enough.
Hold on, that was unpatting myself on the back. So I can admit when I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And then let's see, the San Antonio Brahmas at 2-5, Orlando Guardians 1-6. Okay, then we move to the North. In the North, you have the DC Defenders at 6-1, followed by the 5-2 St. Louis Battlehawks and the 5-2 Seattle Sea Dragons. And in last place in the North, my Vegas Vipers at 2-5. And oh boy, I'm excited because guess what? This week, me, 5 to 6 hours of traveling in a smelly car all the way to St. Louis, Missouri to see our 2 teams come to blows in the Dome.
Yeah.
Very excited for this.
Yeah.
I will be the one and only Vegas Viper fan probably in attendance at this game with 35,000 of my arch rivals who will probably not be happy that I'm there.
Yeah, we took your kids to St. Louis many years ago, and we got to go up in the arch, did the tourist thing, and I think that's basically all we did was
Yeah, that's
we
pretty
went to
much.
see the arch
We went to
and came
some
back
museum and
yeah, well,
some
there was a
other
museum
attractions.
that's in where the arch is at. At the base of the arch, they
Yeah.
have a museum, a history museum. But yeah, this will be our second time in St. Louis, and I'm looking forward to
We've
this
driven
trip.
through St. Louis a couple times.
Yeah,
for
on our
stuff.
way to other places.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're really looking forward to the game, and we will have a full report next week on our trip.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of content we can create from that. All right, moving on. It is the Indoor Football League's Week 3, and that started Friday night as the Green Bay Blizzard defeated the Iowa Barnstormers 44-25. Then on Saturday, we had a triple-header as the Quad City Steamwheelers defeated the Sioux Falls Storm in a very close game, 36-34. The Frisco Fighters and Duke City Gladiators came out guns a-blazing as the Frisco Fighters came out with a 60-55 victory. In another close game, the defending IFL champion Northern Arizona Wranglers got their first win of the season by defeating the Vegas Nighthawks 48-42. The Massachusetts Pirates defeated the Bay Area Panthers 59-52.
Another close game.
And then on Monday, so that Massachusetts game was on Sunday, and then on Monday, the Tucson Sugar Skulls defeated the San Diego Strike Force 35-16. And then on bye this week, the expansion Tulsa Oilers and the Arizona Rattlers.
Okay, we're going to move on to Champions Indoor Football. It was Week 5 in the CIF. And on Friday night, it was the Sioux City Bandits over the Southwest Kansas Storm, 70-46.
Woo.
On Saturday, the Omaha Beef defeated the Topeka Tropics, 60-22.
Another blowout.
Also on Saturday, the Gillette Mustangs over the Billings Outlaws, 73-28.
A third blowout?
And on Sunday, the Salina Liberty over the Rapid City Marshals. You call this a blowout, 42-18?
I call every single one of those games a
I think you're
blowout.
right.
I think if it's more than 20 points, it's usually a blowout.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm not sure what the exact... Maybe as the world of football, we need to sit here and decide once and for all the exact amount of points a blowout is.
Not today.
Is it 3 scores? You got to think it's at least 3 scores, right?
And there were no buys.
Leave your comments down below.
Everybody was in action this week in the CIF.
Yeah.
And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. And before we hit the news, apparently my lawyer, aka Randy, sitting across from me, says I have to make a statement in terms of correcting myself from last week's podcast. So, ladies and
It was
gentlemen,
pointed out by
it
one
was
of our...
pointed out by a very loyal listener. And don't worry, Randy also caught me in this too last week, so I got a good earful of it.
No, well, I didn't know it
Until they brought it up?
until Greg from Australia
Oh,
brought it
okay.
up, that because I had to go back and listen to it,
Oh.
because when you said it, you said the wrong name, and I was thinking of the right person, so I didn't even hear what you said because I knew who it was. But yeah, you said the wrong name.
Yeah, I was looking at a picture of Jim Otto when we were talking about the new numbers, because the NFL's going to the number 0, which we'll talk more about later. What a week for the number 0 this has been.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at a picture of Jim Otto, and I said in my brain, I said Jim Otto, but out loud for everybody to hear on the internet, the words Otto Graham came out of my mouth.
Yep.
So my apologies. It was just a slip of the tongue.
Yep.
As I was literally looking at a picture of Jim Otto and just said the wrong name, because Otto and Otto, come on now. So sue me. It happens.
It's understandable.
It happens. I've never had to do one of these apologies, I think, on the podcast. And
Well, get used to it.
Get
I've done a bunch of them.
Yeah, you have.
All right, well, let's get on to some NFL news. NFL owners last week voted to allow teams to play 2 games on Thursday night, and I hate that.
I don't know if I'm okay
But
with that.
on the bright side, they will not flex Thursday night football games for now.
Yeah.
According to Peter King of Pro Football Talk, the Giants, Jets, Bears, Saints, and Packers voted against allowing teams to play 2 games on Thursday night football.
Well, that was against the flexing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Against flexing. Okay. And then Carolina and Denver abstained. So the final vote, I guess, was 22-8 with 2 abstentions. They needed 24 votes to pass that.
Yeah. So who knows? Don't they do more owners meetings to vote on this stuff later on?
But I don't. This might be the last one before the season starts. So it'll probably be next year. I know they have one during the season.
Yeah.
They have a spring one.
I think the Giants owner came out, and then somebody with the Packers came out and talked about how this just isn't good for the fans. And I'm honestly shocked that 22 teams voted in favor of this, which would mean we don't know. There are 3 other teams that came out and said no, which Peter King, if you get a chance, go read his piece. He used to do the Monday Morning Quarterback. Now he's part of NBC Sports. Pro Football Talk or Good Morning Football, not Good Morning Football, but like Football Morning in America or something like that, whatever the name of his new website is. I can't remember, but he, only listed 5 of the 8 teams that said no. So there's 3 other teams, and I don't want to jump to conclusions and go, oh no, were my Detroit Lions one of the teams that voted for?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they talk about this player safety thing. I don't think that playing more than one, week in a season where you get that short schedule, that just doesn't work. Come on,
and then to have your game flexed where you at the last minute, oh, by the way, you're going to play on Thursday next week.
And you and your
just
family,
screwed up everything.
Yeah, we're like, oh, we're planning on going to that Sunday game at 1:00. Everything's all booked. If you're traveling across the country, because like Packers fans travel.
Oh yeah,
there's certain fan bases where their fans travel. So you could be one of those types of fans where all of a sudden your 1:00 game on Sunday that you planned everything out for, all of a sudden it's, well, now we're flexing it to a Thursday night. Screws up your plan, screws up your money. This is a terrible idea. This flexing a Thursday night. I get that you want to have the best possible game for Amazon put on Thursday nights. I get it. I want the best game possible too. But there's a caveat there. Like maybe they just need to go in with the schedule and have a handful of games not be scheduled. And then at the last minute you pick what game is. That still stinks for some fans, like not knowing, like we want to see the Lions Raiders game this year. That is our big game. If that's what ends up, getting flexed from a Sunday that we've got tickets for and planned on, then all of a sudden it's a Thursday night. That throws our whole, and we live 2 hours away, and that still throws a bunch of stuff in our,
I mean, it's less for me because now I'm retired, so
brag about that.
It's okay.
Man, I swear, if I had $1 every time you bragged about how you're retired, whoop-de stinking
But I mean,
dude.
when I was working, I mean, I only went to games on Sundays. I went to one Monday night game in Detroit, and that was a preseason game just because I wanted to see the Rams. But it works best for us to go on a Sunday or maybe even a Saturday late in the season.
And if we go on a Thursday, we can plan on it and not have that get affected.
But for anybody that has a job, who has to travel a long ways to get to a game. You don't want your game that you've been planning on for 6 months since you bought
Right.
those tickets and have them screw you over. So they're screwing over the players and they're screwing over the fans in exchange for good ratings from Amazon.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
It does take so as of right now, it's not happening. But
Right.
man, the fact that the NFL's pushing for this does
Yeah.
scare me a little bit.
And I don't even like the 2 games, per season.
Yeah, for a team
Because
that's
it's bad. We live in Michigan where the Lions every year they have to play on a Sunday and then Thanksgiving Day. So that's something that's planned into their schedule. Um, it's okay. They do that once a
the
year.
the only way I'll be okay with the two game. I think I mentioned this last week. The two games on a Thursday night, thing is if they have a team play back to back. If you do that, that at least builds in your schedule to not have to turn around like that.
Right.
That's the only way that works. You can't do, you play a Thursday night and then you get, your extra days off. You play that Sunday, then you turn around and play the next Thursday. So you're playing, you know, if you do it back to back, it's like when the Cowboys played on Thursday night one week, but they were on Thanksgiving the week before.
Right.
At least then they had full 7 days till their next game. That's, they adjust their schedule to get their practice in. And then when you go from the Thursday to the Sunday the next week, you still get, it's like almost an extra bye week because then you get like some extra time on top of that.
But chances are not every team, you're not going to be playing the same teams all the time on Thursday night. So, you may be getting back to back games, which is fine for you, but
Right.
your opponent
Right.
may
But that's where it would come into play. So it'd be like, say like the Cowboys and Bengals play on the first Thursday. The Cowboys would play the next one, and then say they play the Jets. So then the Jets and them play that Thursday, and then the week after that, maybe it's the Jets would get the next one. I think there's a way
Yeah.
they could do it, but again, they won't
Right.
because it's the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough putting a schedule together with 17 games
Oh,
and
yeah, I mean,
32 teams.
Great stuff out there.
Trying to
They
get
had
the
like
best
some special
matchups.
last year about the guys,
Yeah,
the teams that
way they
guys and
put
gals
the-
that put together the schedule.
Yep.
Very fascinating YouTube video about that and the history of how they've done the scheduling over the
That
years.
gave me a headache because I could not do that.
I couldn't either, but the fact that they go through thousands, hundreds of thousands of different combinations of the schedule till they pick
And they
the
come
right
up with
one.
a couple different schedules too.
Yeah. And
but-
they don't finalize it till 3 days before the deadline, which is also crazy to me.
Yeah, and that should be coming out this month, I think.
Well, probably
It's-
after the draft.
It's usually right around draft time,
It's
so
like after the
a week
draft.
or so after the
I want
draft.
to say first week in May. It's probably May 8th is if I remember the date
That
correctly.
late? I thought it was still in
I
April.
want to say it's got to be between May 1st and May 8th is usually when I think that schedule comes out now. So I could be wrong.
Yeah, but
Feel free to correct me in the comments.
I'm not a fan of the 2 games per season on Thursday Night Football, and I'm definitely not a fan of the flexing.
Yeah, the flexing definitely. The 2 games, it depends on how they work it.
No.
If you get, like I said, I think the back to back for one team, and then like it keeps alternating between teams. That like 2 weeks of Cowboys, and then the Jets kind of overlap. Something like that.
Once a season is plenty for
It
these
is.
guys.
I think it is, and especially when you have a 17-week season, every team could play on a Thursday night. There's a way that you could work that.
I wonder
out.
if the players' union has to buy off on this.
I'm sure there's
It
probably
doesn't-
something.
It doesn't sound like it, or maybe they already have.
They have to have already. If it's
Yeah, because they wouldn't have announced it otherwise. The
Yeah.
minute that came out, the Players Association would have been on TV going, "We don't like this, and we were not consulted," and so what? I don't know.
If and when this actually, if the flex passes, that's where I can't wait to see shakeups with the Players Association
do
because
it.
I don't want it to happen, but there's going to be some sort of shakeup with the Players Association. You'd think
Yeah.
for allowing it to even get that far. I know that's something the owners, are voting on, but the
Right.
players got to have some sort of say in like, come on.
It's all a ratings thing, so it's not fan friendly and it's not player friendly.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be bringing back their Kelly green uniforms from the 60s and 70s.
Oh
probably?
yeah, they wore those up until the mid '90s. Those bright green uniforms.
Yeah.
I like that look, especially now. Like after being with the current Eagles look for so long, like
Yeah, it's kind of a dull green.
they call it a brighter green. Well, the new one's the dull green, and then like the old one is the brighter green. And they just had that new helmet last year, the black helmet that they introduced. So I think that has to go away now because of this uniform. Now going back to this other style of Eagles uniform that loses the black helmet that they just introduced last year. So NFL and their uniform policy is very weird.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but at least we're gonna get them. This is one of like the classic throwbacks people are happy about. I can't remember if we talked about the Titans are gonna be wearing the Oiler uniforms at least one time.
I think we did.
Okay, I can't remember if we did that a couple weeks ago or
Yeah.
not.
But yeah, these Kelly Green uniforms, I guess they're only maybe going to wear them once this year.
They might
It's not
pull it
their
off
full, it's
right.
not their permanent.
No, it's
But
their
it'll be good to see.
designated alternate uniform. And then the Denver Broncos on their Twitter, I just wanted to throw this out there, teased that they'd be coming this fall, 2023. It's just like a very close up of a white helmet, like you see the face mask and the crown of the helmet a little bit. So are they teasing a all white uniform? Are they teasing a white helmet? Who knows? We don't know if they're going with the classic Broncos D logo on the side or the current logo is going to be. Who knows?
Yeah.
So the Broncos now throwing their hat in the mix for an alternate helmet this year.
Okay. All right. The Carolina Panthers just, I guess, on Monday offered training to their fans and their players in how to perform CPR. And Damar Hamlin was on hand for this event. I guess he's been making the rounds a lot of different places.
Damar Hamlin, big story the last couple of days. So he was at this event, and he's been on kind of a little bit of a tour, it sounds like, trying to, and we'll talk about it in the next part of the story, promoting a bill or an act that they're trying to push through. I was almost gonna say Parliament. We're definitely not. We are definitely not in Britain.
Through Congress.
Through Congress, trying to get this bill that he's kind of a part of, which is great. It's cool seeing him going out and about. And after what happened to him, this year, him becoming an advocate for
CPR usage and knowing how to do CPR. Yeah, I think this was a great event that the Panthers did. Some of the players took part in it, not all of them.
A handful of players, yeah.
But it was offered to fans.
The owner was there.
Yeah. So I think that's
Tepper, and then the the Charlotte mayor, I believe, was there on hand.
But yeah, I hope more teams do things like this. Yeah. Have like a season ticket holder thing and have a CPR class as part of it or something like
just
that.
Even it's just a community outreach like this program. Like do that for your community, get it out there and
or make appearance when other people are doing it around town. If they're holding a class somewhere, send a couple players with a mascot or something like that to say, hey, we support this.
I'm sure they do, but I mean, I think it's added the fact that they had Damar Hamlin in attendance was a big deal. So,
but speaking of Damar, a few days later.
Well, actually, it was a few days prior.
Oh, was it prior that he went to the White House?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought that was after.
Yeah, your timeline was a little messed up, but it's fine.
All right. So anyway, Damar Hamlin and his family visited President Biden at the White House to support the Access to AEDs Act legislation. This bill, it's a bipartisan bill in front of Congress right now, would give grants to promote defibrillator access at elementary and secondary schools.
Very cool.
Yeah.
There's some great video out there of him hanging out with Biden in the Oval Office. Some great pictures. He even gave Biden a jersey and got to sit in the chair
and sign.
And Biden asked him to, please, Mr. President, sign my jersey. So it was a pretty cool moment. Good for Damar.
He asked Hamlin if he thought he was going to play again, and he said, "Yeah, he thinks he will."
That'll be a big deal. That'll very emotional day in Buffalo when and if that happens this year.
Yep.
But yeah, he seems like he's getting better, and then now he's advocating and pushing this act. It's really cool because there's some stories I was reading some pieces about how he's trying to help out with kids and. There's like a number he threw out there, like where 7,000 student athletes in like high school and middle school, whatever, are prone to these not seizures, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest. There we go. So they're like prone to that, and he was given a bunch of numbers and stuff, and the fact that not everyone gets access to the AEDs, the defibrillator devices. Right. And there was one case in particular where a father talked about how he lost his 16-year-old son during a soccer practice because they had the AEDs on hand. It's just the coach didn't know where they were, and nobody seemed to be properly trained to use them, and they ended up losing their son, which is tragic. And so I think it's cool that Damar Hamlin's going out there and promoting this and using his platform to, get that message out there, especially after going through it himself. It makes it even more powerful seeing him going out there and doing this. And
well, if these AEDs are what I think they are, they're an automated thing where you basically hit the start button and it talks you through it with a voice saying, now do this, now hit these buttons. So, even if you've never seen one or been trained on one before, as long as you hit the start button, it'll walk you through the process of how to do that. So that's it makes it easy, but you have to know where they are and you have to have them on hand. So
Yeah, the
that's the big thing.
automatic external defibrillator, or
Right.
EED, is what
Yeah.
it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great. Great that Damar has become the face of that
Yeah.
in the face of the tragedy that he went through.
Yeah, trying to get
But
these grants to these schools. I
yep,
mean, that'll be a big deal.
yep. All right, we're
So
gonna move on.
congratulations, Damar. Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah,
say that.
yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to a little bit of CFL news. Tickets are now on sale for the Touchdown Atlantic game in Halifax, Nova Scotia, between the Argos and the Roughnecks, and that game is set to be played on.
The Roughneck. Wow, we're getting an XFL
I'm sorry,
crossover.
Rough Riders.
Yeah, I better stop in and correct you
Yeah,
now
so I don't have to
before.
apologize next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said the Saskatchewan Roughnecks. Yeah,
Spoiler alert: the XFL's Houston
yeah,
Roughnecks will be playing in the Touchdown Atlantic game
yeah.
against the Argonauts.
But yeah, it's a rematch from last year's game, and they're going to be playing at a college stadium in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That game's on Saturday, July 29th. They've been doing this game for years. It's always kind of cool. They're trying to promote the game out on the easternmost shores of Canada, trying to get a team out there
Yeah.
eventually.
I'm rooting for them Atlantic Schooners to finally show
for one
up.
reason or another, they keep having problems getting
Yeah.
that 10th team in there. So hopefully they'll be able to get that done. But yeah, the tickets are already on sale for that. And keeping the theme of tickets going in the XFL, I just saw a thing a little while ago where the Orlando Guardians are taking $50 deposits on season ticket packages for the 2024 season. Now you're saying that other teams have already done that.
Yeah,
This was the first one I
saw the
saw.
Vipers do the same
Okay.
exact thing. So,
But yeah, I thought what good timing after you win one game. Now you're you're promoting
hey guys,
your
we'll
season
win
tickets.
a game next year.
Right.
Buy season
Next year.
tickets.
I just thought that was a little ironic. So yeah, I'm sure the other teams are if they haven't done it already, they're in the process of doing that.
Yeah,
I'm
real
sure.
quick, but you transitioned before I could get a word in, but that
Oh,
Saturday, July 29th for the Touchdown Atlantic game,
uh-huh.
we'll be at the Pro Football Researchers Association that weekend. So
Oh, really?
we'll have to, I believe that's that weekend. We'll have to try to get that CFL game on a TV somewhere
Mm,
there.
yeah,
We got to advocate
that's right. This is the
for that.
27th through the 29th, I think.
Yeah, it's
So yeah, cool.
yeah, just throwing that out there. We're gonna have to find a way to put that game on a TV
We are
somewhere.
doing a lot of traveling this year. That's why I just had new tires put on the car.
Okay.
I got the oil changed.
He got his windshield
I had to
fixed.
have my windshield replaced because it had a big crack in it. So we are good to go now. We're going to be hitting the road here soon.
Oh man, it's gonna be a summer of traveling for the
Oh,
world
yeah.
of football.
Oh, I love it. Let's see. Other ticket news. Tickets to the XFL Championship game on May 13th in San Antonio are now open to season ticket holders of the San Antonio Brahmas, the home team. So they're getting their first crack at season tickets, and then once they've had a chance to get all the ones they want, then they'll open it up to everybody else.
Oh man, could you imagine if it was like the Battle Hawks in that game? Do you think those fans would travel?
Probably,
That'd be interesting.
yeah. So we'll see on that. Little news out of the National Arena League. I saw this on Facebook. Somebody tweeted a picture of the Albany Empire with the rebound nets in place, just the way they were when we saw our last ever arena football game in Albany, New York in 2019.
Yeah, it's
Great to see the nets back
it's a
up
bittersweet picture, to be honest
it
with
is.
you. It's great because seeing those nets means so much, but it is so weird that it is under the National Arena League that this is happening.
True.
I never thought I'd see
True.
the day that
Yeah.
the nets would go up under anything other than the Arena Football League.
Yeah, it's true. But I did like seeing them in Albany.
It does look great,
knowing
though.
that they were a former Arena Football League team and champion, the last champion.
And probably future Arena Football League team.
We'll see.
Find out this year.
We will see. That's my prediction anyway. But yeah, it was a great picture. I forget who exactly posted that picture, but yeah, that was so heartwarming.
I thought it was
to
like
see that
official
picture.
Albany's.
No, it was
Facebook.
some. I don't know if it's somebody that works for the team. It might be, but it didn't come officially from the team itself. But I was so happy to see that.
Well, let me look up your Twitter account real fast.
Now this was on Facebook.
Okay, well, I'll look that up too.
The World of Football Facebook.
I know what that is. Yeah, H.C. Thomas Menez. He was a head football coach, general manager, director of football operations, and defensive coordinator for the Albany Empire.
Oh, so he does work for the team. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Head coach. Head coach.
Oh, he's the head coach now?
H.C. Thomas Menez.
Okay. I thought that was his initials, HC. Okay, the other day was April Fool's Day, and there were some great April Fool's jokes. Couple that I almost fell for. One that I just happened to think of was I saw one where the um, Toronto Argonauts were joining the XFL. I didn't have that on the list, but I just
Yeah.
remembered that when we got
There's been
talking
a
about
lot over the
Toronto.
years. I mean, the Toronto Argonauts. I remember my big one was remembering the Argonauts and the Tiger Cats announcing they were going to merge and form the Argo Cats.
That's right. That's
That was a big one I
right.
remember that they did. They had a logo and everything.
Oh
It was
yes, I
great.
had forgotten about that one.
There's that one, and you mentioned the thing here, the CFL to play a game on the deck of an aircraft carrier. That got me for a minute.
That I mean, they had a picture and everything, and it looked
Like a
really
big
good.
old mock up. Yeah,
And I think we said at the time, if this isn't true, we want it to be true
I still want it
because
to be true. You kidding me?
that would be
There's
awesome.
no way a Canadian field will fit on a
Probably
aircraft carrier,
not.
but
Probably not. But oh, it was such a cool rendering,
I'm sure
Photoshop
we
picture.
could figure out. I mean, 4 or 5 aircraft carriers attached to each other. We just put a football field across them. Let's do it.
But some of the
This could
ones,
bring the world together.
yeah. But some of the ones that came out this year was one of them was the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL are going to be moving to LA next year.
That almost got me. Also,
I
I was
was
like, wait a
almost
minute.
thinking, well, that would tear the heart out of St. Louis, but then I
That
realized,
was
okay,
kind of the
that's not
joke.
right.
Yeah.
Another one was that the Arena Football League was going to be purchased by Jeff Bezos, and that he was going to be naming a new commissioner here pretty soon. That one I almost fell for too, and then I realized, oh yeah, April 1st.
I hate April Fool's
Yeah,
Day.
I
I
know.
call it March 32nd.
But one that wasn't even football related was Hot Now. The burger stand was going to be going nationwide again. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, Hot Now was a Midwestern thing. It was kind of like Checkers or Rallies, strictly drive-through. You get your real cheap burgers and fries and shakes and drinks and whatever. They used to be everywhere. There
Yeah.
was one in every town. I mean, little towns, big towns, they were everywhere throughout Michigan and throughout the Midwest. And eventually, they got down to one. There is still one Hot Now in Sturgis, Michigan, which is about
It's like a
uh,
45
yeah,
minute
about a
drive.
45-minute drive south of here. And we make a trip down there every few months just to grab some burgers. It's a nice drive. We don't go in the dead of winter, but when the weather's good and the roads are good, we hit the road and go down to Hot Now and grab some burgers at the drive-through and come home. So yeah, so I was totally excited, and then I realized I said, "Oh wow, when was this picture or when was the story posted?" April 1st.
Yeah. Uh huh.
But yeah, this said they were going to start growing the chain back, and more locations were coming, and they're going to be nationwide and all that.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh, they
I'm glad that
they
got you.
roped me in hook, line, and sinker.
Well, a football one I did see that you didn't have on your list was the Massachusetts Pirates of the
Mm,
Indoor Football League announcing a color scheme change
yeah,
effective immediately,
yeah,
and they go from like their blue and teal, their teal and
yep.
kind of dark blue color scheme to like a orange and green and like this weird color
Kind of like the Seattle Sea Dragons
kind of
colors.
sort of, but they were like effective immediately. And then I saw a picture from the most recent game, and that was not their color scheme. So
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that was clearly a joke. But hey,
but
I'm
yeah,
glad that like some of the team stuff, like some of this stuff is fun. There are certain like things I'd read. Like I hate being on the internet on April 1st because there's some
right,
legit news, and then there's like,
right, yeah.
oh, this thing is happening with your favorite movie franchise or your
Yeah, a
favorite.
legit story
Yeah,
comes out and you dismiss it right
yeah.
away because it's April 1st. April 1st.
God help
Uh,
us if we ever have a show on April 1st. That is going to be. I don't
didn't
even know what we'll do.
didn't we do one once on
I
April
can't.
1st?
I don't think
I'll
so.
have to look on that, but
Because I would have remembered us doing like a big old pranky prank. It wouldn't even be a real show. We'd probably just yeah, I don't want to spoil what we do. Never mind. I'm not gonna spoil that surprise for
yeah,
people.
the new hosts of the show, Aaron and Abram,
We'll just hire a couple guys and just give them hot now and they can do the
and
show.
it'll be terrible. That way, it'll make us look better. Okay, all right. So that's it for the news. We're going to move on to some birthdays today. For April 4th, Johnny Lamb Jones, born on this date in 1958. He passed away in 2019 at the age of 60. Played his college football at the University of Texas and was the second overall pick in the 1980 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. He played for the Jets from 1980 through 1984. He spent the 1985 and 1986 season on injured reserves. The Jets traded him to the San Francisco 49ers in 87, but they cut him in training camp. He then signed with the Dallas Cowboys, who also cut him. It was also cut by the team shortly thereafter, ending his pro career. Jones won a gold medal in the 4x100 meter relay race in the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal. And our other birthday today that we want to highlight is that of Jack Del Rio. Turned 60 years old today. Happy birthday. Played his college football at USC. He was a third-round pick in 1985's NFL draft by the New Orleans Saints. He played 11 seasons in the NFL. He was with the Saints from 85 to 86, the Chiefs from 87 to 88, the Cowboys from 89 to 91, and the Minnesota Vikings from 92 to 95. Then he got into coaching, and he was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2003 to 2011 and the Oakland Raiders from 2015 to 2017. He is currently an assistant coach with the Washington Commanders, and he's been there since 2020. So those are our birthdays for this week. And now we turn to a couple of obituaries from this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who have made the world of football a better place. Our first obituary is that of Frank Gilliam, a player and a coach in the NFL, the Canadian Football League, and college, has passed away at the age of 89. Gilliam played college football at Iowa. He then signed with the CFL's Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where he played end for 3 seasons from 1957 through 1959. He finished his playing career with the British Columbia Lions in 1960. Gilliam then went into coaching. He was an assistant coach at Iowa from 96 to 1970, and then went on to be a player scout for the Minnesota Vikings for, I have 36 years. I think that might have been 26 years. I may have put that in wrong. But for many years, he was a player scout with the Vikings.
I'll get ready for your apology next week. All right, our next obituary is that of Tim Joyner, a linebacker in the NFL for 3 seasons, has passed away at the age of 62. Joyner played college football at LSU and was selected in the 3rd round of the 1983 NFL Draft by the Houston Oilers. He played for the Oilers from 1983 to 1984 and then for the Denver Broncos in 1987.
And our final obituary this week is that of John Brockington, a running back in the NFL for 7 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 74. Brockington played college football at Ohio State and was selected with the 9th overall pick in the 1971 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers. He played for the Packers from 1971 to 1977 and was named NFL Rookie of the Year in 1971. The Packers cut him during the 1977 season, and he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he finished his playing career. Okay, and that's it. Anything come through on your phone that we need to talk about right away?
Nope, no breaking news. A lot of mock draft stuff still. I mean, the NFL news has been pretty slow. I mean, there was a few player signings this past week also we didn't mention during the news segment. Calais Campbell to the Falcons. Marvin Jones Jr. to the Lions again.
Returning to the Lions.
We're excited about that as Lions fans. But other than that, not much out. It was a slow NFL news week. We really had
it was.
I would say we had to reach, but you know the Damar Hamlin stories kind of just popped up.
Yep.
And then we really just tried to take our time with that NFL flex situation.
Yeah, that really came out last week right after our podcast, so that almost got included in last week's show.
Yeah, especially last week because we talked about the number 0 because that was a big story that came out, was the NFL allowing the number 0, which ironically is what our history lesson is about, isn't it?
Yes, you were the one that said, "Hey, I think you should do a history lesson on the history of the number 0." And
look at you coming in the clutch. I tell you on a Tuesday, hey, you know what you should do next week? A history lesson on the number 0. Actually, this was more like a Thursday or a Friday. And you said, oh, God, I already have something else prepared.
Yeah, I had another one prepared.
And then
I didn't want to start all over again.
And then you knocked this one out of the park. Way to
go. This was fascinating. I did not know how many people had actually, played, and to find pictures of them. Sports cards and whatever. But let's get into that. So this week's history lesson is the history of the number 0 in the NFL. The NFL recently announced that they are going to allow certain players to wear the number 0 beginning with the 2023 season. Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Calvin Ridley was the first player to announce he would don the number after the announcement was made. While the number has become common at the college level and in the Canadian Football League in recent years, there have been very few players wearing 0 during the history of the NFL. Here's a look at some of those players. About a dozen players are known to have worn the number 0, mostly in the 1920s and 1930s, including one Pro Football Hall of Famer, Wilbur Fats Henry. He wore the number in the late 1920s while playing for the Pottsville Maroons. Safety Orbert Logan wore the number 0 while playing for the New Orleans Saints in 1967. His nickname was the Little O because of his small size. He was 5 feet 10 and 182 pounds. Fullback John Olszewski, whose nickname was Johnny O, also wore the number 0 with 3 different teams during the 1950s and 1960s. He wore it with the Washington Redskins, the Denver Broncos, and even the Detroit Lions in 1961. There was also tailback John Clement with the Pittsburgh Steelers from 1946 to 1948. His nickname was Mr. Zero. Center Jim Otto wore 00 when he played for the Oakland Raiders in the 1960s and 1970s. It made sense. After all, his last name began and ended with the letter O. Wide receiver Ken Burrow of the New Orleans Saints and Houston Oilers also wore 00 in the 1970s and early 80s, as well as running back Steve Bagaris of the Washington Redskins and Los Angeles Rams of the 1940s. But the player who immortalized the number 0 in the NFL has to be quarterback George Plimpton of the Detroit Lions. He was a Harvard-educated journalist who created something called participatory journalism. Plimpton joined the Lions for their 1963 training camp in order to write a series of articles about the life of a pro football player for Sports Illustrated. He had never played football before, and he did not want the players on the Lions team to know that. He told them that he had been playing semi-pro football in Canada for a team called the Newfoundland Newfs. From his 4-week experience in Lions training camp came the 1966 book, Paper Lion. The book was also made into a movie of the same name in 1968, starring Alan Alda, Lauren Hutton, and many Detroit Lions players and coaches. Green Bay Packers head coach Vince Lombardi also made a brief appearance in the movie. Plimpton had already written and published a book called Out of My League in 1961, where he pitched in an exhibition game against a team of all-stars from the American and National Leagues. Other sports that he participated in and wrote about were boxing, tennis, hockey, and golf, with varying degrees of success. On Sunday, September 21, 2003, Plimpton was present at a Lions-Vikings game at Ford Field, along with about 40 members of the 1963 Lions team who were featured in the book. The occasion was the 40th anniversary Paper Lion reunion. Plimpton and Alex Karras were named honorary captains of the team that day and participated in the pregame coin toss. During a banquet the night before the game, the Lions surprised Plimpton by presenting him with the original jersey he wore during the 1963 Lions training camp. The blue and silver jersey, bearing the number 0, was found just the week before at the bottom of an old trunk in the Lions practice facility in Allen Park. Plimpton died just 4 days later on September 25, 2003, at his home in New York at the age of 76. For Detroit Lions fans, the number 0 is iconic in our team history thanks to George Plimpton. The book and movie Paper Lion are held in high regard, and I, for one, do not want to see a Detroit Lions player wear the number again. So, Sheila Ford Hamp, if you are listening or watching, please do the right thing and officially retire the number 0 in Detroit in honor of George Plimpton, and maybe even add him to the pride of the Lions for his many contributions to the history of our team.
Yeah, I love that I can just say, hey, you should do a history lesson on this. You give me pushback, you do it, and then you go, well, I'm glad. I learned so much doing this history lesson.
Yeah, you love throwing something out there and giving me a push and say, go do the research and
Hey,
find that out.
that's what great producers of content do. They get their talent and baby them for most of the time and then make them do the work. Yep. I'm a great boss sometimes.
But no, it was fascinating. I did know that there was a player 2 years before George Plimpton that actually wore 0 for Detroit. Some of the other guys I'd never heard of. Mr. Zero, Little O, and all that.
Nicknames that should now be added to your great nicknames
Yeah.
list.
So yeah, it was fascinating. I learned a lot during this quick little history lesson. So I'm glad I did it. Thanks for suggesting it.
And you guys learned something too. And also be on the lookout for the video version of this. We always post it on Wednesdays. Yeah, so you get to see Randy's smiling face wearing a special jersey
Special jersey
in the video. So
Yeah.
be sure to check that out tomorrow and share it with your friends.
All right. Upcoming events calendar. This Saturday, April 8th, the National Arena League season begins
Oh man,
with those Albany Empire.
with the nets up and
Yep.
everything for the whole league, so that's gonna be weird to watch.
I may actually have to check out some of these games. Are they on YouTube also?
They might also
They're on
be
some
on
streaming
YouTube.
service. I want to say YouTube, but I'm sure we'll find them
Yeah.
somewhere. And then Sunday, April 16th, the USFL regular season begins. Thursday, April 27th through the 29th, the NFL draft is going to take place in Kansas City.
It'll be here before we know it.
Yeah,
Goodness
I've seen
gracious.
so many things about the Lion or the draft in Detroit in April of next year
Yeah.
already. Tuesday, May 2nd, the CFL draft takes place up in Toronto. It's basically a conference call between all the teams.
We will have live coverage here on the podcast that Tuesday, as that is when we record. We will have live breaking CFL
get a
draft
list
news.
of the names. We'll tell you who the first person was, maybe the last person, and anybody else that pops up that we feel is interesting. Last year, they two brothers went back to back in the draft and went two different teams, but that was kind of interesting.
It's always a great day to bust out that clip from The Simpsons of Homer watching the CFL draft on TV. It's great, classic bit.
Saturday, May 13th, the XFL Championship game in San Antonio. Get your tickets now while they last. Friday, May 22nd, the CFL preseason begins. Thursday, June 8th, the CFL regular season begins. Can't wait for that. And Thursday, August 3rd, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, featuring the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets.
We are 4 months away from that game.
It'll go fast.
It's gonna go fast.
Before you know it, we'll be getting tickets.
We'll be back in
to the Lions
NFL
game.
coverage mode. Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
And our weekly predictions.
Oh my gosh. I'm
That's
having
a lot of work.
I'm having PTSD already. It's been nice not having that workload.
But we may have to speed up our picks a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll be tweaking some process. Yeah.
All right. So anything else before we close today's show?
Nah, I believe we've covered everything. We're very excited to be going to St. Louis this week to see the XFL. Long time coming. We never got to see the 2001 XFL. We barely missed out on the XFL the last go around.
Yeah.
So hopefully, oh my God, if something happens between now and Saturday and this XFL shutting down, we can never go.
Yeah, we had tickets.
It's cursed.
Last
We're
time
cursing
around, and I had just made the hotel reservations. I had tickets for a while, and then right after I made the hotel reservations, they shut down the league because of COVID. So never got to go see the Battlehawks at that time. So, really looking forward to it this time. All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow us on Twitter. The address is at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this very podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find the full audio versions of this show on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@theworldoffootball for those of you out there listening. Or you could simply search for The World of Football Kalamazoo, where we got a lot of different kinds of videos up there now. We've been really diversifying our portfolio when it comes to our YouTube content.
I can't believe how much content we've got out there.
So much content out there.
Page.
Then we are also on Amazon Music, so simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. Feel free to subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment on any and all platforms we're available on, because we enjoy it and we like to interact with you fine folks out there. There's so many great stuff we're getting. A lot of other football fans reaching out that means a lot to us, and we just want to keep giving back to the football community.
Yeah,
so
let us know when we make a mistake, because it happens, and
it happens a lot,
and we don't mind having it pointed out when we actually are wrong, and we'll apologize and we'll correct it.
Yeah, just be friendly about it. Don't be hey, you idiots.
Yeah,
Waldorf and Statler on the microphones.
We don't look at tweets or posts that start out, "Hey morons."
Oh, then why do you keep responding to mom's texts?
I know.
Anyway, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, as
Oh, that
always,
can't be very hard.
I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow, and we'll see you when we get back from St. Louis.
Yo,
Did you say yo?
I think I did.
Oh, what a bummer way to end the show.